Thank you for coming to listen to these important topics centered around the prevention of cardiovascular disease. And I'd like to thank the Congress sponsors and organizers, as well as American College of Cardiology, for the opportunity to talk to you today. I have a little secret, which I wasn't sure if I would divulge, but I am an electrophysiologist. I do ablations, pacemakers, defibrillators. Why on earth am I talking about smoking cessation? It's because I've become convinced what I hope to start to convince you of today, which is that without consistent engagement in smoking cessation and smoking prevention, it is impossible to be a competent cardiologist or cardiovascular subspecialist. As everyone here knows, smoking is an entirely preventable worldwide epidemic. Daily smokers, about 25% of men and about 5% of adult women in the world are daily smokers. Smoking is the second most preventable cause of death and disability, and it causes more than a third of cardiovascular disease and deaths. What I didn't realize until recently was that prior to the year about 1600, so in modern times, prior to that, smoking was almost unheard of as a cause of death and disability anywhere in the world. So it's really a modern phenomenon, and one that's totally preventable. These are data from the lung health study. I also just became aware that this study, that Professor Wu, who you'll hear next, participated in work on this study many years ago at Oregon Health and Science University. This is a randomized controlled trial that enrolled patients who had mild to moderate obstructive lung disease. And it tracked outcomes including coronary heart disease and cardiovascular death. Zeroing in on cardiovascular death, you see that among people who were active smokers, the event rate per year was almost 3 per thousand, a rate of death of almost 3 per thousand, as compared to 1 per thousand among people who had quit smoking. So that translates into roughly 1% of people for every 5 years had averted a cardiovascular death due to quitting smoking. So how does this compare to other cardiovascular therapies and interventions that are available to you? So you're a busy cardiologist. You've got a clinic full of patients. You've got a variety of different therapies you can offer those patients. How does smoking cessation compare? Let's imagine a 56-year-old woman who comes to your clinic with a history of prior heart attack. In case after, she smokes. You spend about 20 minutes counseling her about statin and beta blocker and about the importance of doing an echocardiogram. As you leave the room, you mention to her, oh, by the way, you should quit smoking. Kind of offhand on your way out the door. Did you do the right thing? Well, her mortality reduction, her all-cause mortality reduction from the beta blocker that you recommended is about 22%. So certainly substantial. But the all-cause mortality reduction from the statin that you recommended is also about 22%. The mortality reduction associated with quitting smoking is 36%, substantially higher than the things that you spent all the time counseling her on. That's not to say that you shouldn't counsel on these things, but it's to emphasize the point that you need to give equal time and emphasis to smoking cessation. So let's say she comes into the echo and you have a little more information. So now she's a 56-year-old woman with a prior MI and ischemic cardiomyopathy, ejection fraction 30%, functional class 3. She hasn't needed any uridice yet. She's still smoking and she still only takes You spend 20 minutes counseling her about everything you previously did, including ACE inhibitor, spironolactone, and the potential for needing an implantable cardiovascular defibrillator in the future for emergency. Again, you forget about smoking cessation and mention it on your way out the door. How does smoking cessation compare to these slew of options? The statin and the ACE inhibitor, in this context, about 22-23%. Same for the ICD. Beta blocker about the same. And smoking cessation, again, about more than a third benefit in all-cause mortality. So looking at more of a public health perspective, where does smoking have the greatest impact, negative impact on death and disability? And you see here that the developed world, the Western world, the United States, Europe, Australia, Canada, unfortunately smoking is the most prevalent is the most important cause of preventable, the most important cause of death and disability, the highest attributable cause of death and disability. And how does that happen? This is a television show that's been popular in the United States called Mad Men. It portrays the United States in the 1960s. And one of the most pervasive features of this show is how much everyone smokes. Everybody is smoking all the time. And at that point in time, it was close to the truth. A huge proportion of the population smoked. It was perceived to be glamorous, and indeed in the show, you see good-looking people all smoking. This is John Draper. Even his wife, even his daughter smokes. His boss smokes. Everybody smokes. In fact, the icon for the show has a cigarette in a man's hand. This reflects what the social norms were at the time in the United States. How did it get that way? Well, you see, smoking really accelerated in the roaring 20s. It started to increase. In the economic boom times of the 1920s, smoking started to increase. But then with the Great Depression and the onset of World War II, the rate of smoking and consumption of cigarettes increased dramatically in the U.S., reaching a peak around 1960. At this point, more than half of men and more than a third of women in the United States smoke. Because the serious morbidity and mortality from smoking is delayed by decades, unfortunately, we're still seeing the effects now of teenagers who smoked in the 1960s and 1970s. And you can see cardiovascular disease is top on the list of attributable cause of death from smoking. But lung cancer and respiratory disease is in close second and third, of course. Luckily, something happened in the late 1960s in the United States. The consumption of cigarettes and the rate of smoking decreased significantly. Really, starting in the early 1950s, people started becoming concerned about the fact that smoking may cause cancer. It was controversial at the time, of course. Then the Surgeon General did a detailed report looking at all the scientific evidence and had a very high-profile report that pervaded the public consciousness, and people really started to take it seriously. At that point, some efforts, a couple of critical efforts to decrease the pervasiveness and the attractiveness of advertising about smoking came out, as well as federal cigarette tax, as well as medication therapy to help smokers quit, to increase the rate of quitting smoking. These were all important factors to decrease the consumption of cigarettes. And in fact, you see men and women's rates of smoking decrease significantly. In fact, now in the United States, about 14% of men and 17% of women still smoke. I want to point out one important thing. You'll notice as the rate of smoking among men decreased, it plateaued and then decreased. This rate among women increased. And that has relevance to Asia today, which we'll get to. So what about Asia? Well, the good news is smoking is not the number one cause of death and disability in Asia right now. The bad news is it's the number two cause, and lots of people are smoking. So it will soon become number one. Total global cigarette consumption. China is an amazingly large consumer of cigarettes. This is a combination of the fact that there are a lot of people in China and a lot of people smoke in China. A large proportion of the population smokes. Russia, the United States, and Indonesia are other important consumers of cigarettes. When you break down the proportion of the population that smokes by gender, you see that in China, about 5 years ago at least, about half of adult men smoke, as compared to a little bit over 20% of adult men in the United States. Interestingly, women in China don't smoke, which is not something that I recognized previously. And in fact, China outperforms the United States significantly when you look at the proportion of women who smoke. So if you look at this picture from China today, it looks a lot like America in the 1960s, with the exception of the women aren't smoking. So there is some good news. If you look at this study out of Lancet a couple of years ago, it shows the proportion of smokers by age category in 1996, 2002, and 2010. And there's very encouraging news. If you look at the difference between 1996 and 2010, the rate of smoking is decreasing among each of the age categories. And particularly importantly, it's decreasing significantly among the young. And this is where smoking, where the lifelong habit starts. And this is where the greatest overall longitudinal impact on disease happens. That's very encouraging. And there are contemporary examples of countries that have successfully tackled the epidemic. In North America, for instance, a couple of greatest success stories in the world are North America, Mexico, and Canada, both of which decreased their rate of cigarette smoking in their countries by more than double, or cut it by more than half. So if you think about a way forward in China, there's a simplified version and a complex version. Simplified version is among Chinese men work on improving smoking cessation, a variety of different ways, both in the doctor's office and in public policy. Among Chinese women, work on prevention. Think back to that slide I showed. As men plateaued and decreased their rates of smoking, tobacco companies looked for more customers. The society was already fairly saturated, and they were not going to get more male customers. They recognized there were many fewer females. Maybe they get more female customers. In fact, they did. If you look at how attractive the Chinese woman is to the tobacco companies, 95% of Chinese women don't smoke. In the United States at the time, only 70% of American women didn't smoke. So the Chinese women would be a very attractive target for tobacco companies to increase their revenue as to tackle the problem of Chinese men. So it is a very important direction. A way forward, a little more detailed version, is to expand progress on public awareness and change in social norms. Very important in all countries, including China. Build on legislation to reduce secondhand smoking and advertising that promotes smoking. Create legislation to expand health warnings on tobacco and to create a tobacco tax. Better engage in the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which is a worldwide effort to reduce smoking across the world. And resolve state financial conflicts of interest with the State Tobacco Monopoly Administration and the China National Tobacco Corporation. This is very important because this is a factor that's pushing against what is otherwise quite progressive public policy to reduce smoking. There is a lot of revenue in China comes from selling cigarettes. A lot of central government revenue and state-owned organizations. I think that's important to recognize. I have to say that I was really encouraged when I landed here a couple of days ago and I toured around Beijing yesterday. There was no smoking in the airport. There was no smoking in the public places I went. There was no smoking in the Temple of Heaven grounds. And that was a very pleasant surprise and very different than many other countries I visited in Asia. But I think China has made great strides, but there's still a lot of room to go. So, conclusions. Smoking is a huge source of cardiovascular morbidity and mortality worldwide. China, Indonesia, and Russia are at a unique risk of tobacco-related disease epidemic. And this is where you have to realize that those echoes of adverse health that the United States experience, we have had echoes of disease, disability and disease from the 1960s and 70s all the way to the current day. China is going to experience those echoes, whatever you do right now. And if China doesn't tackle the smoking problem right now, not only will smoking be the number one cause of death, attributable cause of death, in 30 or 40 years, the problem will dwarf that the United States is experiencing right now. Smoking prevention and cessation is one of the most important cardiovascular interventions available. This comes from electrophysiology. I implant defibrillators that save lives. Smoking is still more important. China has already undertaken critical first steps, but there's still a lot of work to do in the battle at the level of individual cardiologists, at the level of the Ministry of Health, at the level of the State Council and the communities. Thank you for your attention.